Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs. Today what I'm doing is kicking off Prom Gown Sew Along 2017, and I'm going to start by showing you a pattern that I drafted for my daughter, and it's sort of a hybrid between a classic princess seam style line that goes into the armhole and a strapless foundation, because I first started with the traditional princess seam, but what was happening was because of her larger bust size, it was creating a problem for a very deep V neckline that I want to design with this. So to give myself more control over the opening of the neckline and not have it pull away, I decided to reshape the center front piece to give it a curve similar to what it would look like if it was a strapless foundation versus just being a convex curve. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that as we get going. But I've tested this and it fits beautifully. I'm going to show you the muslin. You can see how the center front curves out and the side front also curves out. And what that allowed me to do is create a nice cup shape for her fuller bust. And then also, you know, it allowed me to shape the bodice so I could then do a deep plunging V, because she wants to mimic these trendy deep V's that have the modesty panel at the base of the, you know, at the tip of the deep V neckline. So, you know, I want to have it so she can have that style, but also feel comfortable so she's not, you know, too exposed. So that's what we're going to be working on. So it's sort of a hybrid pattern from princess seam and strapless foundation put together. So let me start by showing you how to take a bust dart, basic bust dart pattern, and make it into a princess style line. That's the first thing I'm going to show you. Let's take a look at the front of this pattern. You can see it's got a pretty large dart here. I fit the muslin to my daughter with the bust dart to make sure I had the right size. But here's what the problem is. When you've got a large bust dart like this, and then you want to fit this, you can fit it with a waist dart, you know, by adding waist darts, or if your pattern has a waist dart, you can certainly do that. But there's a disconnect between the tips of those darts and the fullness of your bust, and you lose control over fitting that at the tips of the darts. So instead of having a style line that goes through the apex, you are limited to coming to the apex when you're working with darts versus the princess seam style line. The first thing I wanted to do is rotate the dart to the waist and the armhole. Okay, because we're going to make a princess seam style line that starts down here and ends up at the notch up here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my dart. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a vertical line, and I'm going to measure let's say between 4 1/4 inches from the center front, because the span of the bust for this cup size is about 8.5 inches. So I'm going to want to center, you know, where that seam is, sort of along the apex. So I'm just going to draw a vertical line going up to where the tip of the dart is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect that like this. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from my front notch to this intersection here. All right, so you can see this is going to give me my basic shape for my princess seam. All right, so the first thing I want to do is transfer this bust dart to my guidelines that I drew. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to slash to my line, and I'm going to slash through my line over here, like this. All right, so you can see over here I have approximately 4 inches. So I want to close this just under 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this up until I only have about, you know, almost 2 inches left over here. And to hold this in position right now, I'm going to actually take this piece of paper, stick it under here. Okay, and I'm just going to put a piece of tape here to hold it for now. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer the rest of this dart to this portion of my guideline. So let me do that. Okay, so now I've got my dart transferred from here to here and here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to unpin this. All right, so you can see now I've got the two pieces. I've got the side front and the center front. So to draft a princess seam that goes into an armhole, you have to add some curve to this line. Okay, so typically you'd measure out approximately 3/8 of an inch, and you would create sort of a bowed shape to it, like that. Okay, so the princess seam would have this curve to it that would look like that. Because I want the shape of this, and it's gonna have a very deep V, I want it to have a sort of a strapless foundation type of a shape for the bust. What I wanna do for this pattern, because it's gonna have such a plunging V, I wanna kind of marry together a princess style line with a strapless foundation shape. And the way a strapless foundation is shaped, both the center front and the side front actually have this outward curved shape for the bust. So that's what I'm going to do with this pattern, and I'll just show you how it looks. Okay, you can see instead of it being a curve like this on the center front, it bows out. Okay, so see how those shapes are? And that's going to give a nice cupped shape for the bust. I'm going to tape a piece here. Instead of cutting that out, I'm actually going to measure out 3/8. So I'm going to find the middle of this. So let's go in 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go like right here. Okay, so like right here, I'm going to measure out 3/8. And I'm actually going to have this come out to here, like this. And then I'm going to have it bow back in, like this. Okay, and then when I get down here, I'm just going to even this a little bit so it's not so drastic. Okay, so see what I've created is sort of a bowed out shape. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the side front. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out 3/8, you know, somewhere right there, and connect it again, like this. Okay. So now I've got a shape that kind of looks like this. Let me cut it out. And for now, okay, because I'm not sure how much this is gonna, how much I'm gonna actually need to take in here, I'm also gonna fill in this area. Okay, so where I slashed open this dart, I'm just gonna make that straight. So basically, I'm just gonna extend this out so that it's straight here. All right, so that's what I did to create the front of this pattern. Let me show you the back. The back is very straightforward, where we're going to draw a line from the notch to the tip of the dart. And then we don't want a pointy seam like that, so I'm actually going to measure in 3/8 from the intersection like this. So sort of out like this. And then I'm going to just draw a curved line, the dart leg here. So I'm just going to just sort of connect it like this. Okay, so you see you've got that. All right, I'm actually going to do it like this from the outer one. Okay, so it's like that. Okay, so I've connected the inner dart leg like that, the outer dart leg like that. Let me just cut this. So see, on this side of the dart, it's going to curve in like this. okay? And then the other piece is going to be like this. Okay, so actually, this is like a super easy way to make the back. I've gotten rid of the dart and now it's a style line, so that's how you do the back. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention, in order to get these patterns ready to cut out your first fit muslin, you have to add seam allowances back onto all your cut edges, okay? Because I use the sewing lines of the dart legs to guide me to cut this piece out. And also over here, I used the dart legs. So basically, what I need to do now is add seam allowance so I can sew these together. So basically, I'm just going to tape paper to all my cut edges, side front, center back, side back, and add 1/2-inch seam allowances. You know, I'll tape paper and add 1/2-inch seam allowances, and then I'm going to sew it together. So that's the design of the pattern I'm using for the top of this dress. Next time, I'm going to show you how I fitted it, and then I'll show you the pinning and how, you know, I got it to fit, and then I'm going to show you how to transfer those changes to your actual pattern pieces. So that's what we're going to do next time. If you have any questions about this pattern, please post them below, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again very, very soon.